So Meltzer said what the GOAT, right, has a little breakdown for us. Now, before we get into this, John, are you a watcher? Are you a proponent, a proprietor? Are you a fan of Dynamite? Are you a Dynamiter? A Dynamitite?
I watch it regularly.
Me too.
I've been into AEW since they launched. I was there for not there for, but watched the press conferences since before it was actually on TV, and wanted this to be what was kind of presented. So I still regularly watch it. I actually probably watch it more regularly than I watch WWE still at this point.
Okay.
But it's gotten to the point where it's tough to keep hanging on.
So are you like a big diehard fan of it? Like, do you defend it at every stroke, or are you like objective about it? But you like what makes you tune into it more than WWE at this juncture of your fandom?
I guess as a sports fan, I've always loved the losers. Bills fan growing up, Panthers fan since the Panthers were founded. So, I just love to take an ass kicking and keep supporting. I'm kind of a masochist.
Yeah.
I criticize the hell out of it. And that's why I'm told that I hate, I own merchandise. I've bought pay-per-views. I've gone to live events for it. Yeah. But because I don't praise it, I'm a hater, even though, I actually probably spend more money on it than the people who are, pretending to think it's the greatest thing in the world. So I would love to see it do well, but this was the first year where I started to actually miss Dynamite episodes more frequently. Before that, I had always watched it, but it's become really draining, and the exhaustion as a fan from just scratching my head with what's going on with the long twisting devil saga that has spun every way but into reality. It's tough. So like I said, it feels like being a sports fan of these teams where you're just like, yep, I'm a Panthers fan. Hooray. You just kind of do it dejectedly.
And you're preaching to the choir, brother. I'm right there with you along the way. Bought all these pay-per-views, go to these events, wearing Orange Cassidy shirts, and it's just been a slap in the face through and through over the years. But I still watch every Dynamite. Now, let me ask you, as a diehard like me, I never missed a dark or a dark elevation. I saw all those before they got rid of them, and then I never missed a Rampage or a Collision or a Battle of the Belts or any of that. And now I miss Rampage and Collisions all the time. I always make sure to tune into Dynamite, but Rampage and Collision, I don't. It's to the point where I'm like, okay, I got to tap out of these shows if I'm going to keep watching Dynamite. Are you in that same boat? Do you tune into Rampage and Collision, or are you just like these shows?
I have completely tuned out on those.
Okay.
I'm just on Dynamite now. But like I said, I've even faltered. I've faltered there as well. But yeah, the side shows just got even worse. Some of the matches, they're just even more meaningless than things you see on Dynamite, and it became hard. I was loving it, especially in the beginning when Collision was, under CM Punk, obviously, but it really felt different when they did the different announcers. It felt like, okay, this isn't just Dynamite light. It felt like, okay, this is really its own thing. And it had such a good feel to it. And then, of course, 2 months in, they went backwards, and it's just...
They fumbled every great... I feel like Tony's fumbled every great opportunity, not to just do a fest, but it's just the truth.
Feels like almost that with Tony Khan, it's the same way that Vince used to push back when wrestlers got over, or when storylines got over that he didn't want or wasn't big on. He almost had to on it and had to reject what the fans wanted. And Tony Khan has had so many acts get naturally over that they had no idea how to take advantage of, and ended up burying in the process. I think what's happened with Swerve is just awful. With the Acclaimed, it took them so long to jump on board with the Acclaimed, and even then they gave it the bouts. But Wardlow, Wardlow is the absolute best one. But it's when something gets over and the fans really love it, it's Tony gets, I don't know if it's too excited or what, but he just rips it apart and makes it awful.
I think when people get over that aren't his idea, he buries them too. Like Athena, he just pushed her. Like she got over on Dark, and then she's over. You know, she figured out how to get over on Dark Elevation, and he's like, "I know, I'll send you to Ring of Honor, where no one will see you again."
It's the Russo principle.
It's so stupid.
It's the same thing Russo used to do. It's when he sees something get over, he's like, "Oh, this is getting over. I have to attach myself to it." So when it is over, it's because of me, and I'm the reason that it's over. But everything else that I'm doing is complete and utter.
Right.
And so, like I said, it's the Russo principle. That's what I call it.
You're absolutely right about that. And I remember what I was going to say to you, John. I was going to say that one of the elements, because I'm like you, to where I was always making sure I'd watch Dynamite live, but WWE is like, watch it anytime. I'm kind of still like that now. I have to see Dynamite live. And I think it's because WWE, not that I don't tune into WWE live, like Raw and SmackDown, I look forward to it every week. But what I'm saying is, like, if I miss a Raw, I can throw it on the next day, whatever. That's why Netflix is the perfect fit for it. But Dynamite, I feel like I have to tune into because it's not as polished, and I feel like, not that I want to see like a death, God forbid, or like someone get hurt, but truly you feel like anything could happen. It's such a show. A Taco Bell commercial might air during Jack Perry's. We might get we might get someone flip off a ladder and break a leg, or Matt Hardy get concussed off a crane. Like, crazy will just has the potential to happen, whereas in WWE it seems more controlled, and I think that's why the danger of it makes me, as a sicko, want to tune into Dynamite live at least. And plus now, like, I do my live shows Wednesday nights, and so I just throw it on regardless if I want to pay attention to it or not. It's like background noise at this point, because it's hard to give a man lately when they don't give a, and it's just really all ex WWE. But I want to hear Ropes' thoughts though, dude, on AEW. So do you keep up with it? Do you watch AEW all the shows, or do you watch Dynamite? Do you keep up with
it? I go all the way back when AEW, when it started, all the way to the Cody days. Yeah. And then now, no, I don't watch Collision or Rampage that often, but I'm not one that hates it. I watch Dynamite. I think it's better for me to watch it live than to wait for it the next day and force me to watch the entire episode. So I try to catch it on time and just see what happens. I have been to shows twice. I have been to a Dynamite, and there was another event that they had years before that.
It was empty as hey, dude.
Not when I went. No, when I went, actually, CM Punk was still in there.
Okay, yeah. So he was hot and rocking it, dude. Yeah. So yes, yeah, those shows were great. But yeah, I've been to some empty AEWs, man. It's pretty bad.
I haven't run into that yet. The last show that I went was when Swerve was just getting over on that triple threat with Hangman and Jay White. That's around the time the last one that I went. And I just keep up with it. I will criticize it. I will criticize WWE as well. I'm the type of person that if I like it, doesn't mean that I won't say negative things about it. Yeah. I gotta call it out. And the difference with AEW is that there's a lot of bad in it. So, of course, we're gonna say negative things about it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You're right. And it's just because you're a critical thinker, dude. There's nothing wrong with that. Part of fandom is criticizing stuff,
And I'll give you the perfect example. I grew up loving The Rock, but I'll be the first one to criticize the hell out of him. So I'll do the same with AEW.
DJ, what's your thoughts overall on AEW? I guess, what has your fandom been like? How often do you keep up with it, if at all? And then we're going to dive into these breakdowns here.
So I usually watch it week to week, but for like the past 3 months, if I'm not doing anything Wednesday and my son's asleep, I'll throw it on. If not, I either watch clips of it the next day, or I'll skip through the show to watch it so we can review it. But other than that, I don't get the same enjoyment I used to. And a lot of it is, I feel the same way as a lot of the AEW crowds feel. A lot of it doesn't excite me, because what attracted me there initially was the chaos. And now it's just only chaos and nothing's there to keep me there. They did a good job of getting me interested, but what AEW and mainly Tony has done a terrible job of is keeping us here. Like, yeah, you got my interest. What now?
Yeah.
And wrestling is a business of not what have you done, but what have you done for me lately. And I've always been a fan of AEW. I've liked what they've done, but I think ever since, and it's always going to go back to Brawl Out. I think that whole situation there, how it was handled, how everything was coming out through Meltzer and all the dirt sheets, how Tony didn't immediately strip the EVPs of their titles as any proper company should and would. And it just showed it was Bush League and it was Tony's pet project that his dad was funding. It's the best get my son away from my family business that Shad Khan has ever paid and come up with. Because this isn't a wrestling business. This isn't, it feels like Vince, everything Tony started his company to fight, he's become.
Yes, I know. I'm Tony McCon now. Didn't you know?
The best guy is Tony Khan.
Like, it's crazy how much he's turned into the monster he was trying to fight. And it blows my mind, like day to day, week to week, like how
it's just really here? Tony needs to get out of Tony's way, and like that will never happen because everybody said it so publicly and brashly, if that's a word, that he will never take that criticism because it's like offensive to him. That means he let the haters win, and so he just won't listen. But yeah, it's him and Dave Meltzer need to shut the fuck up and get away from the creative aspect of AEW, and it could be okay. But anyways, though, speaking of Meltzer, Meltzer said what? The GOAT says, I hope Dave will give the AEW fans a good scolding for not learning and not doing their due diligence to keep the ratings strong before leaving for any Thanksgiving gatherings. All real AEW fans should have left every TV in the household on and set to TBS. You have to learn. And for that, we will play a Dave Meltzer flute for that. Because Meltzer said what will beat you over the head with what Dave tells other people, and he scolds you have to learn to the DVRs and all blah 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 blah. He has excuses, of course, like Dave always does, for this terrible rating that took like a week to come out, took longer than usual because they were trying to bury it for Dynamite. I'm not one to break down quarter hours. However, this is just an overall, like, people don't give right? Claudio versus Ricochet sort of gave them a little bump, and then people were like, this, and just dipped out as soon as like MJF, which is cringe, became cringe in my opinion. I loved MJF, he's cringe, dude. It's not even fun anymore. No one gives a shit about this Undisputed Kingdom stuff. There's no rhyme or reason to why they just be they're devils who hijacked the show and did all this for a year, and now they're just good guys because Adam Cole hurt his foot in his back. Makes no sense. Hayter and Aminata are great, but again, Mina is awesome too, and Mariah, I like everything they're doing, but they dip out, and then they just all dip out for Darby and Brody because people have already seen that match as well. No one gives a shit about the C2. The 724, which boosts up their average. I know people are like, oh, it's 536K average. It's not really that, though, and we cover it all the time on the show because the 724 boosts it up more than it really is. We got to look at it's more like 588 to 460.
Yeah, it's that lead-in. It's always that lead-in. You got to take out the lead-in.
Yeah,
and always the overrun usually, because the overrun is also a slight buff from the whatever show's coming on. People are tuning in for that, so you always take those 2 quarters out to get the real number.
Dude. And the only things that look like they're piquing interest are Hurt Business a little bit, and Ricochet and Claudio a little bit. And I made the
you can't even give them that because that's top of the hour. 9 o'clock, people are always switching the channel, so that number is always going to go up usually because.
And how many people were like, "Oh, main event is on, or Superstars is on, or whatever"?
Exactly,
because it's Cesaro and Ricochet. Like, come on now, dude. 2 real dudes having a WWE match. Go figure. People, it gets a little bump in ratings. Go figure. But basically, they get like one of their worst ratings. Now, Meltzer has excuses. We'll look at that in just a second. But they're saying it aired live on the West Coast instead of at its usual time of whatever it's always some different excuse. That's essentially what Meltzer said was making fun of there. I want your guys' thoughts. what the is up where each week like NXT is beating the piss out of Dynamite head to head on their own night. When they're on different nights, NXT's whooping them. Meltzer's trying to say all the key demo, but the key demo's now skewing the other way. People are giving less and less of about Dynamite. I say they still do under 600,000 next week. I don't think they go back even with the hour going back forward, or maybe they hit like just around 601, something like that. I'm not a big like charts and numbers guy. Like everyone does it, I know, but when it's a unique situation like this, I like to talk about it, and because it's a travesty. Even Eric Bischoff said, I have his quote here. He goes, fucking, I honestly didn't think AEW would fall below 500K until this time next year. Apparently AEW is like a turd that starts circling the drain slowly, then picks up speed as it heads to the sewer or septic tank, depending on where you live. And yeah, the key demo was terrible, a 0.15. And so I just want your guys' thoughts. Whoever wants to take the floor first. I mean, just they're in the
I'll
toilets
start it
right
off.
now. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
First off, does anyone want to go sledding? Because that's what I suddenly get in the mood to go sledding when I look at these ratings.
Yeah,
like I just want to go down. I just want to sled down this wonderful hill. Like what the? And you want to know the sad part, Phil? It's only gonna get worse. You think it's bad now? It's still gonna get worse because Tony still hasn't realized he's the problem. Yeah. His booking's the problem. The fact that he's not creating stars is the problem. And it no matter how bad it's getting, he's not realizing that he's the issue. It's not his stars, it's not who he's booking, or it's not the people he has. He has a great roster.
Yeah.
He has honestly the better roster. If you're asking me who I think has a better roster between WWE and AEW, I'm still giving AEW a slight edge.
Damn, that's crazy. But that's your opinion though. And like that's the thing, bro. I welcome that opinion. I hard disagree on that, but like I get it though, you know, like I get it. And
if everyone in AEW was pushed correctly, I think they can be just as big, maybe slightly bigger.
Right. I think they could compete if they were booked correctly. I truly, in my heart, believe that Kenny and Lance Archer and Hobbs and Wardlow and MJF could compete if they were booked.
Like in terms of the talent they have from top to bottom, I'm saying they have some of the top women's wrestlers. They definitely have some of the top male talents. They have the superior tag team division, but yet they have all these tools, but they keep getting lower and lower and lower and lower interest. Why is that happening? It's because Tony doesn't know how to put people in the positions to accentuate their talents possible. No, just go out there, have a 20-minute match, and let's hope Dave gives us 5 stars tonight. No, leave the big nose nerd who lives in his mother's basement alone. Don't give us about his rating system. And go out and have some personalities. Let him go back to giving 5-star matches to people in the Tokyo Dome that no one in America has ever heard of. Okay, like I'm tired of watching 20-minute matches all the time with people I don't care about. It's the same match all the time with different people. Yeah. Always some out on the floor. Always a jump start. Always no ref counting. Maybe occasionally you'll get an Aubrey Ed face emoji, but that's it. There's nothing different from one AEW show to another. Maybe a few small changeable moments, but it's all the same constant chaos. To where WWE is at least structured to where you at least know what you want to care about and you want to watch that throughout the show. Like you get for SmackDown, here's the formula. You get your one bloodline segment in the beginning of the show. You get a little bit of and maybe a couple more sprinkled points of the bloodline in between. Then it ends again with either Cody or the bloodline. That's it.
People want to see that.
It starts with a star.
What is like
and ends with a star. But yeah, go ahead, Ropes.
And the stories are interwoven throughout, though. To add what you're saying, DJ, like the stories are throughout, so you have like a through line. So even if you tune in midway through or something, there's something going on where you're like, oh, I'm familiar with the story going on and the characters. Anyways, though, sorry, Ropes, your thoughts on all of this, like terrible rating, and is the West Coast thing an excuse or no?
I think they did it on purpose because they knew what was coming. They wanted to put excuses out there. And let's face it, AEW has bad storytelling. The minute that you start losing to WWE third brand constantly on your day on Wednesday. When you went head to head, you lost. When you went head to head with NXT, you lost. And you just keep dipping and dipping and dipping. And then your product just looks back every week. 1 week you see somebody on TV and then you don't see them again, or they go to Collision. Who the f is watching Collision? So why are you not?
Rampage now.
Mariah May is a perfect example of that. Your woman's champion, and then she disappears into Collision to have matches, but nobody's watching her. Who the f is watching her over there? So what are we doing here? Like, you wanna have your best talent on Dynamite so you can build up to eventually, yes, at some point you start branching out correctly to Collision. But right now you want all hands on deck on Dynamite, stories that make sense that you can follow week to week, and please have your stars in quotation marks show up. I went to a show, sat in a very good seat, and I had to watch Christian and Edge on TV while I'm there, but they couldn't come out. I was front row on that one, and I'm like, I came all the way here. I was hoping to actually see Edge come out with his whole team song, whatever. No, he's just fighting backstage. I have to watch it on TV, just like I can do in my house.
They taped it the week before or whatever.
Yeah, like, what are we doing here? And that's what I don't think Tony cares, because why would you not turn this around when you see that you're losing to NXT? NXT. NXT is a very good show for me. I like it. But your best brand is losing to the worst brand in WWE.
In WWE. Yeah, exactly. It's crazy, man. You're right. Okay, John, so you were pretty critical before, I guess, but you are like a fan, I'd say. You lean more like me. Like, I'm like, dude, I'm trying. I was there for the revolution, bro. Not to say anyone else wasn't, but I'm just saying, like, the way you described it, I can really relate to that. So what was good on this show? But listen, John, what was good about this show? As like, if you're an AEW fan trying to go, no, here was something like some positive, try and spin it for us. You know what I mean?
The best spin is getting to see the women, not the wrestling, but the boob shaking women, and
Tatas.
Well, and Claudio, the Claudio match, which was, I guess like your, like, I guess that was your best. It was another very weak show. You gave us the Brody King match again. I think it's the fourth time in the last 6 to 12 months that we've seen this match. Second time, I think, in the last 2 months, maybe.
This time it's in the Continental Classic. I'm Excalibur, and that means it means more. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's very confusing. So I looking at it, I know DJ talked about seeing the beginning of the show. I looked at it as skiing. It looks like Tony Khan's skiing is what's driving these numbers down. He has these storylines on the show that Dave Meltzer has to explain to people. Him and Brian got into it the other week, because Brian was telling him that Meltzer explained a storyline to him, but not because it was shown on TV, but because Tony Khan texts him these things. So thoughts in Tony's head have to be conveyed by Meltzer to understand what's going on. Like, how did they go from beating NXT in the original Wars, now having most of the roster, and now they are losing to NXT? It's amazing how poorly Tony can manage the guys that he has. I agree with DJ that for a lot of the part, they have a phenomenal roster that can definitely go neck to neck with WWE, but Tony Khan doesn't know how to use them. Half of them are sitting at home, and the other half are in tournaments and just endless tournaments like the one we have right now, which I still don't understand the rules. Is this for the title, the Continental Classic that someone holds? Does he forfeit it at the start of the tournament? How does that work?
They didn't explain. All Tony went was he realized that he up by putting Ospreay and Ricochet in the same bracket, so he was like, two people from the same bracket can win and make it to the finals. It's just such a lazy, watered-down version of the G1 or whatever. But, yeah, man. The skiing analogy, I think, is the right way to put it. So I had brought up earlier, is the West Coast thing an excuse? So, John, was friendly enough to drop us this link. And here is MJ from NJ, friend of the show, friend of the PWT universe.
Shout out to
here it is.
Friend of us too. Loves him.
Right on. Let's go. So, how has AEW's traditional Thanksgiving Eve show performed compared to the prior week and for good measure the week after? Some takeaways: in 2022 and 2023, the Thanksgiving Eve show was viewed by more people than prior week and held the rating the following week. In 2024, it was down 16% and requires a 20% increase next week to just get back to the week before Thanksgiving Eve. From 2019 through 2021, the Thanksgiving Eve show did better year over year and only fell slightly in 2021 and 2023 before cratering in 2024, down 37%. Damn, this is some high-level quantum physics. No, I'm just joking. The 2019... Yes. Every show the week after, I'm just skimming through this here to achieve 20. Okay, would mean next week's Dynamite is up 58.5% from Thanksgiving Eve 2024. I don't know. Just go and check out Ref MJ from NJ, some X_error. Just a tremendous follow. And basically, here's the before and after. So what this is telling us is 2024, just the bed. And we don't know the after yet. Like, we don't know what their rating's going to be tomorrow night. But it'll actually be today by the time this comes out. Time Cop. It's like my favorite movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's great. So I don't know what's going to happen. But so far, it's just trending to be the worst overall, I think, entirely in its history. So, and then typically in its first 2 years, it had worse ratings, a 668, a 710, and then they were up 898, 880, 845 over Thanksgiving. What was going on those 3 years, I wonder? You know what I mean? And
so how he's breaking it down, just to kind of break it down a little more simply, just in case other people are just like, what are these numbers in bars? So the gold bars are the episodes before, the white bars the episode before Thanksgiving, the black bars the episode after. So what happens is there's always a small dip on the week of Thanksgiving because, you know, it's the holidays. Not a lot of people are going to be watching TV. And the week after, there's usually always a bigger increase. But the past few years, what you're noticing a lot now is it's not as much of an increase, if there's any increase at all.
Right.
Like 2022, there was a 4% decrease. And then from 2023, a 2% increase.
Which is like nada. That's like pulling hairs, you know?
And then this year, everything, the initial before number is down 37%. And then it's 16% down from that. So
which was the actual Thanksgiving show, and then we'll know the after. And do y'all think it bounces back 40% even?
No,
like if you
I think it'll increase maybe 3 to 5% from this last episode. I think they may barely crack the 600K mark.
Yeah, me too.
But that's the thing about AEW now lately. It used to be when they had dips like this, they'd recover. Now they're having dips like this and they're not recovering as much. It's a smaller percentage. And they're losing people faster than people are losing the rate of cable. So this is a huge problem going into them starting the stream on Max, because if Max doesn't help get them interest, they're definitely not going to be getting interest in the Max.
But haven't you heard, according to me and my sources, actually, the best guy's Tony Khan, and he's gonna be actually Brian profitable by 2020.
The best guy's Tony Khan.
All right. So yeah, there you go. There's our little ratings breakdown.